What's up, humans, and welcome to a new Psicoactivo. Happy Friday, everybody. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about a topic that I've been wanting to talk about ever since I spoke to John Burroughs on the channel, the first time and the second time as well. And in both occasions, he hasn't been able to tell me straight up stuff that he has said about his DNA and about all the operation that was going on with him. And he's a very specific and unique case because even though there are other experiencers like him who have had reactions to their body and have caused them injuries, he's the only one. And to this day, I know of only him and maybe another person, I think, who has this ability because of a UAP injury officially, like signed on the paper. And if UFOs are not real, and if none of this is real, why does he have this ability that specifies it is from a UAP injury? You know? So to me, John Burroughs' story is one of the most important in this entire thing. And he's in a unique position as well because of his interactions with people like Dr. Kid Green, Dr. Garry Nolan, and others who have tried to get DNA samples from him. And at a certain point, they did because he did get surgery in his heart. And if they were present there, they could have easily gotten any type of DNA from him right then and there. So when I told you that I spoke to John at a certain point, but it wasn't recorded, we spoke about his DNA because I wanted to ask him about it, even though I asked him on a non-recorded conversation, and he was cagey about it even then. And I thought that what he told me then, he hadn't said it anywhere else. And I do got to give props to Red Panda Koala because he found an interview from 2018 that I'm going to show you guys right now, where he talks about that at length. So now I can talk about it too. And I can do a video for you guys where I connect dots that I think are important for this entire conversation. And there is a concerning element here that I think is not talked about that often. Yesterday, from Cosmosis, formerly known as the UFO Rabbit Hole, has been talking about some of these interactions as well with experiencers that have been unsavory. And ever since I started doing this, I noticed that there was a pattern that people who were experiencing stuff like orbs and other type of phenomena were approached by folks with intelligence community credentials and really friendly. And the best case, I think, and the most public one is Mr. Chris Bledsoe. Because if you realize the work that he has been doing, that he writes in his book, you will notice that as soon as they found out that he was an experiencer, people from the intelligence community, from NASA, from other places, started approaching him and observing him. And he's the most famous case. I know that they did also DNA tests on him. And John is now talking about the DNA tests that they ran on him, but he refused to give them DNA every time they asked. He refused, I believe, twice, I think. One of those times was when Dr. Garry Nolan and Dr. Colm Kelleher went to him to get DNA samples from him, and he refused to give them to him. And he talks about what they told him about his DNA, how it was unique, but they were very vague about it. And then he says why he doesn't want to talk about more of what he was told about his DNA. And I grew up watching the X-Men, and this is not like, oh, we're all going to get superpowers or anything like that. No. But the metaphor behind X-Men is the idea that suddenly humanity finds out that amongst them, there are humans who are different to them and who may or may not have different types of proclivities and abilities and characteristics that are not usually seen in humans. And I'm saying that this is a misconception. It's not new because of something that happened back during the Holy Inquisition days. But I'm going to expand on that after you listen to John Burroughs. So here he is. Okay, so this is from, and shout out to Red Panda Koala for finding this. This is from May 8th, 2018. John Burroughs, Rendlesham UAP radiation exposure, experiencer DNA with Dr. Kit Green, episode 13 of the UFO News Network Sunday. And this is the interesting part that I'm going to play for you guys right now.
How much of this is true or not is open to debate. And I get the skeptics and that question some of this and where is this really going. I'm skeptical about some of this too, and a lot of this reads like a sci-fi novel. Do you know what I mean?
Sure, you bet I know what you mean. Absolutely.
So I have a lot of issues with this too, and I ask questions consistently to these guys, and I don't.
And this is to John's credit because he is aware of what happened to him at Rendlesham. He's aware of the medical complications that he suffered, but he's not easy to jump to conclusions such as there is a galactic federation or we're dealing with extraterrestrials. He's very grounded in the approach that he has, and he will tell you to your face, I don't know what this is. I'm trying to find out too, but I don't know. But again, he's in a very specific position because of people involved in the UFO disclosure movement, specifically the scientists who have clearances, have been trying to get DNA from him and tried to get DNA, according to the information I have, from other experiencers as well, not just him. There's another gentleman by the name of Chris Wolford, who's part of the UFO community, who has a space on X where he talks about this, where he talks about the approaches he got from scientists. So I'm just giving you a little bit of context to this because John is not one of those people that is talking about reptilians or different races, or he doesn't talk about that. He talks about specifically about the injuries he suffered and how he was treated by some of these people and the interactions that they had and what troubles him about all of this that is happening. Because, yeah, it does read like a sci-fi novel. So I just wanted to clarify that as well.
Don't get the answers I'm looking for from them based on what they say publicly and what goes on in documents I uncovered. So I have interaction with them. I'm asking questions, and I'm not sold on all this. Okay. And now I hear that they're going to start putting some of the results of this study out. Well, see, here's my problem with that. I was told originally by Nolan and Kelleher this study was never going to be made public. That all this was going to be kept quiet. It was being used privately, okay, for research and development. Well, then I'd gone public with it, okay, all right. And now they're actually saying they're going to release some of the studies findings.
To be clear, the study he's talking about is about his DNA and the DNA of others, not just his. I know that at the age of disclosure film, they did interview a couple of people who suffered UAP injuries and are also experiencing similar things to John. What separates John from them is that he didn't want to cooperate with that, and he's the only one with the disability. That's what separates him from the rest. But this study, and it connects to Dr. Garry Nolan's study about the coded putamen, I believe, because it has to do with DNA as well. Dr. Nolan is more public about everything that he's doing, and he talks about when he was approached with those patients, with some of them were Havana syndrome, others weren't, and he treated Jake Barber for injuries as well. And John was one of the people that he also treated, but the man who was running point there, like running the operation, it seems like it was Dr. Kit Green. And Dr. Kit Green is not as public as Dr. Garry Nolan. Dr. Colm Kelleher, who also connects to Dr. James Lacatski, is also part of this because he was alongside Dr. Garry Nolan, according to John Burroughs, when they went to get DNA from him.
I don't like that, okay? Because here's the problem. The world is pretty messed up right now, and we don't get along, okay? So now they're going to release some of these studies and findings based on their data, which hasn't been, what I call confirmed, because there's no one else that can really do this, right? There's no really other place to do this. They may have some of these papers vetted, for peer review, but this data is all raw data, supposedly, that can't really be verified. And based on that alone, and if they release this, could cause a huge shitstorm for everybody. Do you understand what I mean?
This is what John told me in private, and that I had never heard him speak in another show until I found this, thanks to Red Panda Koala. And maybe he has talked about it in other shows recently, but the ones that I saw him talking about this, he wasn't that direct. And he told me that it was a scenario that didn't look well for him. But what he's essentially telling you is that Dr. Kid Green, Dr. Garry Nolan, Dr. Colm Kelleher ran sort of like a program to study UAP injured veterans and experiencers. And they did find some really interesting things that they are, according to John, the only ones who know about this. I don't know if that's true. I would like to get a comment from Dr. Garry Nolan about it. That would be really cool. But what he claims is that they're now releasing the data, and this is from 2018. I don't see they have released a lot of data about it. Honestly, I don't see it. But Dr. Nolan has talked about this caudate putamen discovery quite a bit. He wrote a paper on it. And what John is telling you is that what he believes is that releasing all of this data will cause some sort of societal disruption because of how divided the world is right now. He kind of alluded to the race war that has taken place over decades, but on steroids. He thinks that something similar to that would happen. I don't know if I agree with that, but that's how John Burroughs feels.
Everybody, do you mean just the folks involved, the subjects of the study you're talking about, like yourself and whoever else was involved,
Well,
or
first
just
of all,
in general?
yeah. I mean, here's some of the issues I have. They talk about hybrids, right? I mean, people talk about hybrids and
Okay.
DNA, and there's other people that are from somewhere else, and
Yep.
the antenna theory, which is I had a discussion last night from this Chris Wolford is the guy that you've had on.
Yeah. Chris is a great guy.
Talking about this. Well, I said, do you understand what this means? Oh, yes, I understand. It's best what's best for mankind. I don't understand that. Okay, we can't get along with each other. We fight wars on religion, money, and all this other stuff. We go to battle all the time over this. It's me, 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 me. So now let's just say they introduce or give the hint that there is another species out there or something that's different. What's that going to do? How's that going to affect people? Do you know what I mean? How's it going to affect the religious people? They claim some of these battles going on internally have to do with these religious people inside the government, the military, and these agencies. So if they start dropping hints out that some of this is real or existed based on these studies, I don't really think that's such a smart idea, in my opinion.
Okay.
Especially when you can't verify it.
Well, just not that, I don't know, maybe this is a subject change, maybe it isn't, but you had mentioned something earlier I want to follow up on. You had talked about them providing you with sort of a psychic workout program and that type of thing. Have you done it? And if you have, what are the results? Do you think it's helping you? Is it improving, or is it an interesting exercise? What do you think?
Well, what I can tell you is this, okay? The programs they asked me to work on are ancient. That there's really nothing to follow on most of it. There's a little bit out there on a couple people that go back and have studied these programs and understand this. So you can do some research. And have I worked on it a little bit? Yes. And
I wonder if what he means by ancient, he's talking about like the Vedic type of studies or meditation or yogi stuff in order to enhance any type of psi phenomena abilities that he may or may not present. I do wonder that. I would like to ask him that, but let's continue.
Yes, you can see some results. That's I'm going to say. There is something to, there is no doubt there is something to meditation and all this and different things that you can do with the mind. I don't dispute that at all. But again, that's another problem. If you don't educate people the proper way, in other words, if you don't explain it, back it up with documentation and testing that can be verified, you leave it open to a huge mess, which is what ufology really is. You've got all this stuff going on, and you've got hints and pieces and glimpses of what it could be and what it couldn't be, but it's all open to interpretation, and it causes this big fight and mess that goes on. Now, if they do this the same way with the study and these experiencers and everything else, to me, that's not a good thing. I don't like it, and I'm not very comfortable with it.
Okay, understood. But as far as using a little bit of this psychic stuff yourself, you feel like there's some benefit to it. You're enjoying it. You're getting something out of it, at least a little bit.
I don't know if I enjoy it or what the benefits are. It's eye opening. Let's put it that way. It's eye opening what we're capable of. Now, again, let's get to that little caveat. Does that mean everyone can do it and there's nothing special about any of us? I don't know. You know what I mean? If people start researching this and try it, it may be everybody can do this, which means everybody's the same, right? The problem I have is it kind of hinted at that there are people that are different. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that is something that never bodes well with people. You know what I mean? And that's one of the things, like, you get Linda going into this, you get other people, well, there's hybrids and they're going to replace us. Well, that's a real nice thing to tell people. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That just deal with the fact that we're eventually going to be replaced, and no big deal. Just accept it and move on with it. Nothing to see here, folks.
Yeah, and there is precedent, though. Despite what John may or may not think, I believe that this video from Dr. Dean Radin is very revealing about this, that there are studies that have been done that prove that, most of us do have some sort of skill. I did a video on it a little while ago, and the correlation that Dr. Dean Radin found was startling to me. And this is from 4 years ago. Keep that in mind. I hadn't seen it. So it is interesting. But these people trying to make it seem like some are more special than others. I want to see data on what makes them more special. And unfortunately, we're not getting forthcoming sort of information from the people involved in these studies. But the studies are being conducted, definitely. And there are people who are like now talking about it more openly, how experiencers are like sort of being a little bit targeted. They're being treated very well. They're being praised a little bit too much sometimes. Just look at what was done to Chris Bledsoe again. I go back to him, but there are others. It's not just him. So let's see what Dr. Dean Radin said right here.
And so we have identified a genetic sequence on chromosome 7 of DNA, which was the opposite of what we thought originally. We originally thought there's some special gene that makes people psychic superstars, and we'll find what that is.
And that's not the case. This is from Dr. Dean Radin, not from the people that John Burroughs has been dealing with. I don't know if John Burroughs has dealt with Dr. Dean Radin, but it's a different type of assessment.
Yes. And so we got people who are psychic from psychic families and controls who are not psychic from non-psychic families, and did a standard case control study, which is what you do with genetics. So we found this difference between the two, but the difference was that it looks like most people who are, quote, average, normal average people, they have capacity or psychic ability. It's these other people, still a pretty large proportion of the population, we think, maybe 40%, we don't know exactly, who don't have this particular gene. And by not having it, their capacity for having these kinds of experiences is much, much lower than the average person. So this is kind of backwards, because we're basically saying it looks like everyone can have these experiences, except this group of maybe 40% who end up being extremely skeptical because it's not part of their experience, and they don't know how to make it part of their experience. And so one of the people working with us is a specialist in sociogenetics. which was a discipline I didn't even know existed until he started working with us. And what it's about is looking at the genes of a population and how that orients a population towards certain kinds of beliefs and certain predilections. So he did this analysis and found a very strong correlation between and this is a negative correlation. We were originally saying, well, maybe the Druids have, that portion of northern Scotland or Ireland, maybe they have more psychic ability because they have legends about such things. We found the opposite. We found a place that has a deficit of people with psychic talent. And from a socioeconomic or a socio-historical perspective, it turns out to be Christianity. And so we're thinking this is Holy Roman Empire plus or minus a couple of countries over time. There's a deficit of this particular genotype, basically.
So you mean the geographic birthplace of Christianity? You don't mean Christians around the world in general?
No, it's like the birthplace, and then high density is going to be near that birthplace. So we're talking about probably Italy, Spain, a few countries around there, which are still heavily Catholic. There's a deficit of this gene, of this sequence. And so in thinking about that, we were trying to figure out, to get rid of a gene in a population, first of all, takes many generations, but also something has to happen. I mean, evolution does things because there's a need. The need could be that the environment changes, or it could be endless wars. It could be all kinds of things. In this case, all we could come up with as a speculation is the Inquisition.
Yeah, I was going to say that people were persecuted for displaying anything like this. They were accused of witchcraft and so on.
And so those genes were not passed along.
Interesting.
So that this is the speculation at this point, except that the correlation is pretty strong.
Pretty strong. When I heard this, I immediately thought of somebody like John, for example, and what scares him about telling people what he knows about his own DNA. And I don't think that would happen to the extent that it would cause societal disruption. Although, yeah, this part of the population that apparently doesn't have this gene, which is, as Dr. Dean Radin's study suggests, 40%. It's a significant number. If there was any type of conflict, it would be because of that, right? But we have to know where this comes from, where this absence of this gene comes from. And it is still soon to speculate on whether this has anything to do with alien DNA or anything like that. I don't know if it does, but it is certainly very interesting, and it has to do with humans and with what we are as a species. And I think it's an interesting thread to pull from. I don't know how much information these people have about this that they can share with the public. I don't think it's a lot, because many of them are working on classified programs. And the other link that I found here was that Dr. James Lacatski recently referred to this as well. And here's a question from Jeremy Corbell.
You said this very enigmatic statement. If full human capabilities were known to us right now, the phenomenon is not something that we need to fear. Our capabilities have never been fully revealed, and we're still learning.
And I stick with that statement.
Okay, but what does that statement mean is what people have been asking me.
We need to get into that. But
Okay,
that's
right
where, right now, the only thing I can get into is the public. Everyone is going to be able to participate in that. Now, not everybody is going to, yes.
I think he said this because of this study that Dr. Dean Radin is talking about. And I don't think it has been just that specific study. Dr. Dean Radin's study was very localized. And obviously, if he's doing it out in the open, I would guess that the DIA or maybe the NSA as well are doing this secretly as well. And even bigger studies, not of the same size that Dr. Dean Radin did. I think this is why he's saying this, that he knows, or he has data like Dr. Dean Radin, that the majority of people do have this gene or this ability. I think so.
Can't tell you that yet.
Well,
Not-
is something coming that we don't know about? There's a huge consciousness shift that everybody's psychic. Like, what are you saying?
No, I'm not saying anything more. I'm saying that I don't think people need to fear anything. If they needed to fear something, it would have occurred already.
Okay, but you just said a more enigmatic statement when we tried to clarify your previous enigmatic statement. So what do you mean we're all going to be able to participate one day in that statement of like full potentiality?
Oh, I meant in Kona Blue aspects. We're going
not
to be
clear.
able. You're not going to be yet. We need to define what is in Kona Blue. And let me tell you, it's much more than going and getting what some have described as 60-year-old parts. No, it's much more than that. And I can say I know what the exchange parameters were, and I know what was promised on all sides. And I mean, there was also the money side.
Hold on. The exchange parameters within Kona Blue about all humanity being able to participate in human potential. What are we talking about?
Doing it deliberately. This is Jim Lacatski's countermeasures. I'm getting all to, I am.
You're a professional.
Think of my, not only in that, but think of my philosophy of, it's like you've seen people lugging these around at college, a calculus analytic geometry textbook, which now they've even tried to stuff in differential equations and matrix algebra. The things are huge. I am convinced you can't swallow that much. You've got to take it bit by bit. And, I'm sorry the books cost what they cost. That's why there's the free Kindle portion of it if you belong to Kindle.
I don't think people care what the books cost. It's okay. We understand.
I think they do.
Okay, but it doesn't matter to me. You organize the information. You obviously have a career. You have a pension. You're okay. We know you're not doing this for the money. What I want to know is, what did you mean by that statement that if full human capabilities were known to us right now, the phenomenon is not something that we need to fear? What does that mean?
Exactly what it says. You're going to have to go to blank. The black screen.
So that we have humans have potentials
Absolutely
unrealized. Yeah.
Completely unrealized. And when you said some, Jeremy, I don't know if you said some people have potential. No, everyone has potential.
Right. So, and does this relate to non-human intelligence somehow, what you're talking about?
No, but there could be a portion of it.
Well, you're saying we don't have to fear the phenomenon if we've realized our
Something would have happened. I mean, this isn't a science fiction show where there's a creature crawling in your mouth or something. This is forget all that nonsense. It's nothing to fear that people have been led to believe. Your government has everything under control. I'm throwing you that to rile you up. No, that is just, I'm saying that to fool with you. No, really, that's what my personal belief comes from, my faith, and it comes from observation.
Okay, fair enough.
People shouldn't blindly believe what they read and hear on the internet. Don't do that. But about this program or other things, just don't do that, because you present logical information. And if people can poo-poo it and people can embrace it, but they ought to read it, understand it, view it, and so does George too.
So yeah, James Lacatski is spelling it out for you. It doesn't have to do with the science fiction-y aspect that has been inserted into the community for many, many, many decades. And yeah, everybody, according to the observations that he's done, Dr. Colm Kelleher worked with him closely, and Dr. Garry Nolan worked with Dr. Colm Kelleher, and both of them are working with Dr. Kit Green and Dr. John Alexander. the focus should be and is, I think, in experiencers. And one of the reasons why they have been largely ignored by the government is because of this, is because they are a key aspect to understanding what's happening around us, not just the non-human intelligence aspect. There's a reason why I say "What's up, humans" at the start of every episode, because I think and I believe that the most important piece of the puzzle to all of this is understanding what we can do and our own history, the real history, which also has been tampered with for generations. The Library of Alexandria was burned, and we don't know what was contained in those parchments and those letters. And we don't know if there was ancient pharmacology information. We don't know if there was like more history to be told there that we didn't get to know. We don't know. And there are many events like that throughout history. The Inquisition is another one that I think was key. And yeah, right now, there seems to be a study to experiencers that is being kept mostly under wraps because it is rediscovering what we can do. And if there's an NHI aspect to it or not, that is something that I still haven't seen fully, but it all connects to this topic in general because we're not just trying to find out whether we're alone or not. We're trying to find out what all those phenomena that are happening are all about. Why are they happening? Where do they come from? And I think that John Burroughs' story here is a key element to that. And I'm glad that he talked about this in this interview finally, because we finally know why he is being so cagey about talking about his DNA, the fear that he has, which shouldn't be ignored, I think, but it also shouldn't be misinterpreted, I think. So hopefully this was a little bit more enlightening to you, and hopefully you understand a little bit more of what is being done with experiencers, and some of them are not happy about the way it's being handled with experiencers. I think that we should listen to them, but we shouldn't treat experiencers as sort of caged animals or like a main attraction. I don't agree with that. I think honestly that everybody can be an experiencer. We all experience things throughout our life. And I don't think it should be treated as a parlor trick because it's not. It is very serious. I think that if studies are being done to people with their DNA, I think that the information about that should be more public. I don't get why it's being kept a secret so much. And I don't get why it seemingly can't be talked about as much. Why is that? It shouldn't be that way, I don't think. But let me know what you think in the comments about John Burroughs and what he thinks about the studies on his DNA and the dangers that he fears. Do you think it's a thing? Do you think it could happen? Do you think there would be societal disruption? What do you think also about Dr. Dean Radin's statements and the study that he ran? And what do you think about the connection with what Dr. James Lacatski says here? Let me know in the comments. I'll be reading. If you like the content you see, I'm going to ask you to like, share, hype, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. That's all you need to do in order to help us, and it is what helps us the most. So thank you. But if you want to support us in other ways, there's a few links down there you can choose from. You can also become a member on YouTube, or you can support us through KGRA. Anything you choose to do is always appreciated, so thank you. That's it for me today on this video, but I'll see you guys in the next one. Remember, stay curious and inquisitive like John Burroughs. Always. Bye.